Okay, so we're gonna do, I'm gonna guide you through some of the initial Unity process and show you a little bit of the rig here. Um, so this is the Morpheus Alpha. If you're a member, you could download it over here at, I'll leave the link in the description below after the stream, probably. But basically, just downloaded the Unity Medium asset from 11/19/2018, and here it is. Um, so we're gonna go through using a couple tools and getting this guy into Unity for the first time. So I have my Unity. I have an empty Unity scene here. I created art. Well, it's a completely empty Unity project. I created an art and character folder, and for my character, I have my content folder, which will have the rigs, and then the character folder for my mdrake asset. So I want to create first I want to create a rig file with this latest rig referenced in, and that'll be the basis for that'll be the start of all of my animations, because I want to have a referenced asset so that we could update the rig whenever new stuff comes out, whenever new versions pop up. So I'm going to create a new scene file, and I'm going to create my reference and reference my mdrake asset. Okay, so I referenced in my Drake, and I'm going to go into the reference editor and make sure my namespace is correct. Column mdrake, and now that namespace is good. I'm going to save this as mdrake rig. So that'll be my master rig file, and I'm just going to replace the latest mdrake whenever I get it. Whenever I get any updates or make any updates, I'm just going to replace that reference file with the latest. Let me go back to, well, let me just say this again and go back to my rig file and make sure I have all of my quick selection sets for exporting. So let's see, I have my bake TD set, which is all of my joints that are going to be baked, and then I have my delete TD set, which will delete all of the stuff that I don't need, and I'm going to create a new quick selection set for exporting, and that'll consist of all of my meshes here. And my root skeleton. And I'm going to create a quick selection set. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my animation importer tool and set my export sets. So my bake set is this, set bake set, my delete set, and then my export set. And this tool is going to be in the CGM toolbox. It's not there currently, but it will be rewritten to be more CGM friendly. Right now it's just in progress tool for importing and exporting animation, and well, I'll show you. So now that we got that set, I'm just gonna save this. And well, let's go into this, and well, let's open up our rig file. Don't save. Okay, and now we'll just try exporting this. I don't need 120 frames, it's gonna bake it all down, so let's make it 10 frames and export rig. Alright, now let's go into the Unity scene, and it automatically created my mdrake, exported my mdrake, and exported the rig here. See if I'm missing anything. Let's bring that in here. So obviously textures are currently missing. So let's fix that up right now. There's a bunch of materials. Let's go into the rig file. And now I'm going to pare down some of these materials. Well, first let me actually tell the Discord about this thing. Alright, so maybe someone will join. Who knows? But for now, it's fine if we're just, if I'm just here alone. Maybe Josh will watch this later. Okay. So let's go into our hypershade. Oh, here it is. Opened it. Edit, delete unused nodes. Okay, so they're all used. So let's just start hooking up these materials. Right now they're in source images, so we'll just copy all of these over. And they're all PNGs, so they're all pretty good. Pretty ready for Unity stuff. That's fine. Importing our textures. Well, let me delete this mdrake rig. Get rid of it here, and we'll re-export it and see if those textures get hooked up automatically. Alright, select our master again and export rig. 120 frames. Forgot to adjust that, but that's fine. And let's go back in here. And cool, it did automatically hook up those textures for the most part, so that's pretty good. So now we need to, well, let's extract the materials. Put them in this materials folder. And that'll allow us to adjust them if we need to. Adjust those properties. Alright, so now we want to create an avatar from this this rig, and we're gonna do a humanoid avatar, create from this model, apply, and then it'll allow us to configure it. Yeah, sure, save. And for the most part, it tries to find the best joints and auto-populates them, so we'll see how accurate it is. Spine, chest, upper chest. Okay, that seems pretty good. And then we have the shoulder. Left shoulder is L clav, L shoulder for upper arm, lower arm. Our hand joints. Right shoulder. That looks all good. Foot and toes. And same for here. Yeah, so it did a pretty good job of finding everything. Let's go into our head. We have a full facial rig here, so the humanoid skeleton isn't going to take all of the joints, but we have our neck here, and then head, left eye, right eye. Those will be consistent, and then the jaw, left hand, thumb. Alright, so found all of the thumbs, index fingers. So we have a metacarpal. We have some metacarpals here that the humanoid rig isn't going to accept, so we have to move all of these basically down one and start from 1. 2, 3, and we'll do the same, but we'll go in reverse here so that we don't get all these errors. Okay, that covers the left hand. Now let's do the right hand. So making this humanoid rig will allow us to basically put any motion capture data onto the character. So if you already have a Unity library for it, you'll be able to just attach your any humanoid skeleton animation onto it, onto M Drake. You know, the thing about having the metacarpals, though, is that any additional joints, like the facial joints, will not be transferred from any humanoid rig, and usually humanoid rigs don't have all of those, but as we export facial animation, our M Drake model will accept those since it's the same joint hierarchy. Well, we'll get to that later. Maybe much later. Okay. So that covers that rig creation process. Just checking on the live stream, seeing if anyone's here. No, it's all good. Okay. So now let's now that we got this guy in, well, let's see what we could do with these eyes. So these are the lenses for the eyes. So we need basically a transparent shader on it. You know what, let's just hide it, because we don't really need it right now. We do have like normal maps and stuff we could hook in. So let's hook those up. Okay, so this the to adjust the lighting so we could see him a little better. And see which, we have a height map, a metallic map, so we'll throw that into here. That's a little too hot. Fix our normal map. Let's add our height map, our ambient occlusion, and do we have anything else here? Let's see what that does. I don't think we need it. Okay. Now let's do the same for the head. Alright, so here's the face and body. They're two separate maps. Let's put the face height map in. Face normal. Make sure that it's set up as a normal map. And then our face metallic. And bring that down. And our occlusion map. And now let's do the same thing for the body. AO, normal. It's normal OpenGL. Alright, we don't have a metallic map on the normal, so let's get rid of the metallic map. Or the metallic map for the body, so let's get rid of it on the face. Okay. Is that everything? We have an eye map. Face. This is where we might want some reflectivity. Height map. And occlusion. Let's make sure we're using the same normal maps. Okay. So now that we got all those shaders set up, I'm gonna have to fix this seam. Let's see where it's coming from. It's pretty much disappeared. Still see it a little bit. That'll still need to be fixed. But let's get those normal maps back. Oh, we also have the hair. Height map. Metallic map. Our AO. And where's our normal map? Fix now. Okay. And those are our base shaders right now. Okay, so let's save that. And now let's create a prefab for this dude. Let's create a new animation controller. attach that. And now we want to create, well, he's at 0, but we want to create an empty node and create another empty node. We'll call this visual, and we'll drop mdrake in here. And we kind of want to, separate the visual thing, so when we actually update this rig, it'll just be an easy drag and drop, or at least easier than having to reset up everything that we're going to create here. So part of that is moving the animator over to the top node, because this will be the root controller, and we want the root animation, to move this object. And we could remove this, and let's create another empty folder for prefabs. And we'll drop, oh, that's the wrong one. Delete that. Oops. Oh no. There. Now let's drop that. Okay, cool. Accidentally deleted that. Okay, so now he's ready. He's ready for animation. Now we just need some animation. So we'll start with, well, let's go. We're going to get our animation from Mixamo. Okay, so let's get an idle cycle. Gotta pick a character that we're gonna apply it to, and we'll, let's see. Let's just get this Ybot. Nice generic Ybot. Now we'll search for our idle. what's the difference there? Who knows? Okay, so let's download this idle, because this is pretty generic. And will just be our base idle here. We don't need the skin. And we'll download this idle fidget. And this one too. So we have some variations. Okay. I think that's all we need from there. So let's create a new animation here, call it idle, create a starting file, yes, and that'll basically just bring in the rig and save it as an iterated version. And now what we want to do is get the Mixamo idle cycle onto the rig. So I'm just going to drag it in here, import, and it gives me, well, first of all of the keys are now messed up because it's obviously in a different, this one is 24 frames per second, so we'll set our frames per second to 30. Oh, looks like it didn't like that. Okay. How long is this? Go into our graph editor and find out. So it's 300 frames. So we'll set our slider to 300. And now we have the whole animation. Alright, let's move that guy over to the side so we could see him a little better. Okay, so we want that animation onto this guy. Let's set up our file. Let's reset him so that we could map mapper character. Select everything and reset it. Okay. So let's try to match it as close as we can. It's already fairly close, so that's pretty good. But we want to match. We'll just match the one side. Skinning probably needs a bit of work, but we'll keep working on that. We want to match it as close as possible. It doesn't have to be exact, but you know, the fingers are pretty straight here, so we want to make our fingers straight so that when it's retargeted, it's actually giving us good results. Or at least as close to the mocap as possible. Okay, that's pretty close. So now let's take our part, children, mirror, push, and we'll do the same for this. Mirror, push. Okay. So that's our reset pose. And now let's go into our CGM mocap bake tool. And we'll select the all of our mocap joints, add them to selected. Probably want the FK spine, IK legs, and FK arms. And now we want the hips, we want basically the retargeted joints here. So we want hips, spine, spine 1, spine 2, neck, and so on. So hips are 3 spines, our neck, head, left shoulder, left arm, forearm, and hand. Now we want our middle finger, one, two, three, our thumb, index, ring, and pinky. Now the same for the right. Right shoulder. You don't have to exactly select it in order, but it just makes it easier to visualize, I think. So now our middle finger. Thumb. Index. Ring. And pinky. Okay. And now we have our since these are going to be point and orient constrained, they're not going to be exactly targeted to the joints, but all right, so add those to the target and let's target by distance. Alright, we know all of these are matched. I'm untargeting these thumbs. There's something funky happening with with the naming, which is fixed, but it's in an older, I have to check that fix in. So I'm just untargeting everything. So let's see, the way the hand is set up, it's got an end joint, which we aren't concerned about, so that's why I'm skipping the 4. Right shoulder, right arm. Oh, almost there. Let's see. So now we have our ankle IK, left ankle IK, and we'll target that to the right foot or left foot. And the pole vectors will be targeted toward right leg and left leg. Okay, so all of these IK will be point and orient constrained, and the hips will be point and orient constrained. So we'll click on that, set target constraint to point orient, and you'll see that O signifies that it's just going to be an orient constraint, and PO signifies it'll be a point and orient constraint. And now we do a manual set, and we'll save data. And we'll call it and now let's go back to 0. And let's bring him back to the origin. let's save this. And set to slider and bake. And we'll just wait a few minutes while this bakes out. Halfway there. Had to be a 300 frame animation. Okay. So now let's see what it baked out. So there are, you know, a little bit of, there's like that initial frame pop. Let's just do 0 and 1 and bake that. Okay, so that fixed the little pop. Let's see how that, yeah. Pretty good loop. As you can see, these are a little janky, so we'll just adjust those in the curve editor. And I think the shoulders are a little too high up, so we'll rotate those down as well. Maybe we'll rotate them forward. And we'll set the eyes to just be looking straight ahead. 0. And there you go. Now we got an idle cycle ripped from the mocap. So now let's get some of those idle fidgets in there too. Well, let's save this thing. And we'll go and create a new idle fidget. We won't create a starting file here. But now all we gotta do is drag that well, let's save this. And now let's drag our idle fidget animation in. And it'll just replace. It's going to replace the animation on our existing mocap. And this is 120 frames. So now we'll save this new version, and that'll be our idle fidget, our first variation. And let's delete all of the keys on this, on the original. Select puppet. And we'll go into our graph editor and delete everything. Okay. And now we'll just go ahead and set the slider to bake. Well, first let's just, we know this is the first frame, or this, so let's just save this frame so we could rely on it later. And now we'll go in and hit bake. And we're going to have the same issues, obviously, as the previous bake, so we're going to have to readjust those once again. But now we have that, that pose saved out. Alright, and we got our first fidget for the most part, Our knees are a little jacked up, so let's fix those really quick. So see, good thing we saved that key, and now we could just move it down. Same for this one. All right. And we have a little bit of a difference here. So let's adjust that. Okay, and now we have to do some eye animation. Or at least change the space to the head. And now he'll look alright, so that's our fidget variation. Now we'll save that. And now we'll create a new variation. And bring in the other fidget. And let's see, this is 98 frames. Okay. Set it to slider. Well, let's get rid of all of our current frames except for -1, which has our default pose. And we'll hit bake. And we'll once again go back and adjust the translation Y value here to hit the same pose as we have for our idle. And we'll have to adjust this to aim at the head direct. And it's pretty good. Pretty accurate. We'll save a new version of this variation. And we did make adjustments to the to the shoulders, so we gotta bring those back too. I forgot to do that on the other one. We'll do that in a second. Alright, we'll save that. And now let's just go and start exporting these. So select the Drake master and hit export. And it'll bake it all down and export our FBX. Alright, let's go back to our fidget first variation. Let's adjust our shoulders. It's giving me a nice little snap. It's auto snapping to make it a little easier for me. Alright, save that. And let's export this variation. And let's go into our idle. And export that. And now when we go back to Unity, our animations are coming in. Our idle fidget with our two variations. So let's select all of these, go into humanoid, copy from other avatar, and select our original M. Drake avatar. Go into animation. Let's get rid of animation compression. And name our idols appropriately. Loop time, loop pose. Our root motion node is going to be root motion joint. And do that for all of them. you can see we have our animations in here. Now let's just apply it to the mdrake main controller really quick and call it a day. So we'll bring our idle in. And then our fidget. And then our fidget 2. Oh, we forgot to name this one. Whoops. And bring that in here. And now let's just link them all together so that they just keep going in the same loop. Alright, and now when we play, our camera is 100 miles away, so let's bring that in. Well, let's rotate him. Actually, he was facing the right way. Z forward. We gotta move this camera. And now when we play, we'll see our idle cycle. Looks pretty good. All right, and that's we'll call it a day for now. Thanks for joining the stream, and see you next week.